How is it possible that Yahoo found this
That's
and
what I'm saying.
32 NFL teams who have been scouring this guy's entire life for the last 5 months or whatever it has been did not? That's one piece of this that I just find curious. The second piece is, this is a draft not only where there are a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, there are a lot of quarterbacks. And so I have to believe that they are breaking ties. Somewhere along the way, you're breaking a tie between Sam Darnold and Josh Allen, between Josh Rosen and Josh Allen, between Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen. And this then becomes something that goes into an equation that I could see making someone change their mind. I was this close on these two guys. All of a sudden, I got to deal with this. I'll go the other way. We'll never know. If Cleveland doesn't take him tonight, they won't come out and say we were going to take Josh Allen otherwise.
You're making the comparison. Does this make him off the field worse than Baker Mayfield and some of the things he's done? I think that it doesn't there. And then you talk about what was more glaring to me listening to him. Adam talked about 2 execs that texted him what they felt about it. If I'm listening to that, that sounds like press conference material if I draft him. Not saying that those were 2 teams that needed quarterbacks, right? But we did an extensive background check, and all we found is positive. You can't hear that being said when the GM or whatever team drafts him stands in front of the podium. Oh, well, if you go back into anybody's high school career and their tweets, you can find things that they said that they wish they haven't. That doesn't sound like something you say standing in front of the podium when you draft Josh Allen. So these guys are already making excuses for him. People who do not have them, who haven't drafted him, they've already given you what the template's going to be. They've already given you what's going to be said at the press conference. So how can you even argue that this is going to be an issue when he's drafted?
So I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of what Ryan is saying and what Schefter is really saying. When you hear the terms, it won't affect his draft status. What that means is the people that are picking and drafting and evaluating it don't care as much. Because if the people did in ownership that looked more like us in ownership and in power, people would care. Okay. The next thing, when you say, and I'm just quoting, would say you can look back at anybody's tweets. Yeah, you can look back at anybody's tweets, but that don't mean that they were racially insensitive.
Yes.
That's the other thing. And also, I want to make sure I acknowledge, his tweets are confrontational. He's not just saying the N-word like DiVincenzo did when he was quoting a Meek Mill's lyric. He's actually confrontational and angry and hostile when he uses it. Again, he's in high school. I'm not going to overreact to a kid doing something dumb. But he was around 16 years old. You're old enough to drive at that point. So you should know things that you should not say and you should not tweet. And lastly, and not to be a hypocrite here, I stopped using the N-word for this exact conversation because I have friends that don't look like me, that I don't want them using the word.
Absolutely.
But I know what happened. Hip-hop, rap music became mainstream. And when it became mainstream, artists started to sell more records. When you go to the concerts, those lyrics are in the songs. People will regurgitate those lyrics. And they do it when we're not present. They're clearly not going to do it while we're present. So that's why I personally stopped using the word. So when people say that they're not going to be offended and it's not going to affect his draft status, it's because they know mainstream America looks more like Josh Allen, and a lot of those people feel like he did in these tweets.
I mean, is it possible that the due diligence that's being done on these teams as they're looking into these kids and their pasts, and I mean, they only have so much of a past. They are young.
Right.
That they just haven't really caught up with the times yet. Because it's one thing to click on and check, go back a few pages and be like, oh yeah, no, everything looks cool. But if you're of the mindset or if you're being raised in this social media era, and then you have to go back way, way before that. Because the thing about the timing of it is very odd to me. Same thing with the DiVincenzo tweets that came out during March Madness. It's like, how did they come out now? Why weren't they seen before this? That's very odd.
Here's what happened. Before you get to the money, and when you become for public consumption, when you start to get famous, that's when people start to dig in your past. We didn't care as much.
But the team should be doing that. They're about to invest a lot of money.
That's the part of that I was saying. Let's give Schefter one more word here before we have to let him go. Schefter, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I love what everybody's saying, and I agree with everybody's points here. Jalen, very strong commentary. But I will say this. These are the words of 2 people on 2 different teams. I don't know what the reaction of teams drafting quarterbacks is going to be. For all I know, somebody is going to take Josh Allen off their board. I'm just giving you an immediate reaction. Look, the story broke overnight, 2, 3 in the morning. reached out to a couple of executives. That's what I got back from a limited sample size this morning. We don't know the general opinion. If you want to say that those two opinions will apply to 32 teams in the league, fine. But these are the words of just two separate men on two separate teams, and I don't know how that will impact the other people who are making a decision tonight about a quarterback.
Schefter, thank you. Stay close to us here because as this continues to develop, we will need much more from you. Thank you. Go ahead, Ryan.
I think the one thing that we've learned from this collective group of owners is it's kind of one brain, right? Yeah, it's only two execs and it's only two guys who said this, and I understand what Adam is doing in trying to defend the whole because we haven't gotten information from them all, but there's not people running out to get Colin Kaepernick. There's not people running out to get Eric Reed. No matter what collusion cases are brought or how many times we talk about it, when someone makes a statement like this that's racially insensitive, that's combative, as Jalen has pointed out, it's an issue, but only to the people it's an issue to. People that look like us, people who understand the insensitivity of the word. And I, like Jalen, don't use the word. Had a conversation with a kid at a concession stand because he was in front of me speaking that way in quote unquote mixed company. And I tried to explain to him, string some sentences together without using that word. Let people hear you talk intelligently and speak intelligently and use different language so they don't feel comfortable using it. And that's what's happened here. And when you dig into the past, and you know, Michelle, we're speaking like people didn't know about these tweets. We're speaking like they don't have the money or they don't have the type of investigation that finds these tweets. How do we know?
We don't.
Right? How do we know they haven't seen them and said, you know what, that was in high school. We can search anybody and find things that they wish they haven't said.